How is everybody? Are we ready to talk about video marketing again?
Yay.
Okay, yes, so we're gonna jump in. I want to make sure we cover a lot today, so we are going to jump in fairly quickly. I do want to ask before I do that, did anyone take any actions from our conversation last week on either their existing channel, or did anyone learn anything further from the conversation we started last week? Mary?
I was looking at, I call them negative hooks.
Mhm.
There was like Lawrence Yun, who's NAR's chief economist. He had a list of what's been happening, since the rates have changed from 3% to like 6 or 7%. And I said, oh, I can find some negative hooks on those. Then the next step is, okay, now how do I put that into a video? So that's what I was trying to figure out, is how do I put that into a video?
Yeah, it is amazing and they both work because they both create the curiosity. So that was good. I'm really glad that you checked that out and
Yeah.
you're playing around with it. You're gonna get a good video out there with the negative hook. If you post it before next week, email it to me and
Okay.
we'll watch it and we can show everybody what you did.
Okay.
Okay. Johan, do you want to share anything exciting for the past?
No, I've been trying to shoot some video, but I failed drastically. It was so bad, so I'm not going to talk about it. But
Okay.
that's why I'm here. I need to learn how to do it.
All right. Well, let's jump in on this week's content. So, Aaron, if you want to start with the slides, we will do that. Because today it's going to really build upon what we started with last week. So, and I think, is that the first slide or is that the second? I have myself
It's
backwards.
the first slide. It's just the other one in front of it is just your intro.
Okay, gotcha. So, what we really want to talk about today is putting your best face forward, having thumbnails and hooks and engagement in the title, and really having a thumbnail that's going to be current for what is creating consumer engagement now. And we're also going to talk a little bit about how your best face forward is not necessarily that it has to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you have to look perfect. It just is the overall combination of creating curiosity and having a thumbnail that will create engagement. Okay. So your thumbnail is like a visual hook. So Mary referenced having a list that is something like 5 unexpected outcomes of the interest rates, or 5 mistakes sellers make. So there's positive word hooks, and your thumbnail is a visual hook. So let's go ahead and jump in, Aaron. So the elements of a thumbnail in the current YouTube world that will create engagement. Faces still reign supreme. A thumbnail that has a face and a pretty large scale face. There's even a difference, and Ruby and Aaron, if you have anything you want to add to this, please jump in. But there's even a difference between, say, a waist up, someone like with their arms folded and it's their waist up with their face, will get less clicks and less engagement than a full-on face. So you'll notice when you look on your YouTube news feed that you will see that many of the thumbnails, there's a big old human face in there. The humans are fascinated with other humans, and we are particularly fascinated with other humans' faces, and human faces reign supreme. So that's a big thing to remember. Recognized. So items that are easy to recognize and identify. So you'll notice too, and maybe not just the huge for sale sign, but the actual rider that says sold, something like that stands out. And they're like, oh, that's a sold sign. So let's say you have the entire sign, you want the emphasis and the focus to be on that sold rider. something that, in your area, I'm looking at Linda in San Diego, obviously boats, or all of the, several of you are, Massachusetts. Actually, all of you are in water oriented places, right? So things that would be easily recognizable. To give you a counter example, if someone was on here from Wyoming near Yellowstone, put a big old buffalo. So things that people recognize that either tie to real estate or tie to your area, depending on if it's a lifestyle video, but make it something that's recognizable. And then interest. So you want to create visual interest, and contrasting colors really stand out. After we've talked these things through, I am going to go to, I'm just going to do a random real estate, whatever shows up on my feed. I guarantee you there's going to be bright colors. There's going to be contrasting colors. There's going to be a lot of faces. There's going to be a lot of very clear font that is in white letters on a dark background. And we're going to look at that together. So you want that visual interest. It is not a time to, I don't know why, but the Rolls-Royce logo was just popping into my mind, where it's very tone on tone. It's silver with a darker silver. YouTube thumbnail is not a place for tone on tone or like 3 different shades of blue, all in the same paint chip card to look. So that's not what you want. It is not to be tonal or monochromatic in any way. The contrast is what is going to get your thumbnail to stand out. Okay. Intrigue. We talked a little bit about that last week in terms of the words. Now we're going to talk a little bit about how you create intrigue visually, and you use an arrow, or you use a green check mark and a red X sign, or you put a circle around something. And again, when we do a randomized news feed, I guarantee you that we're going to see thumbnails that have all of those things. What we will also do is we'll take a quick look at how many views has that particular, are those having, and you'll see that oftentimes those are the videos that have the most views. If anyone is sitting there thinking, what if it was a picture of the house? Like if it's a house tour and it just is a beautiful picture of the exterior of the house, that will not create engagement. It won't. The only time that might create engagement is if your big face is also over on the edge making a crazy face like, oh, and it says something like, you won't believe what these sellers did. And there's a giant X. So like if you don't add something, a picture of a house is not going to cut it. And then accuracy. You want to make sure you aren't misleading potential viewers. It should always try to depict what the actual video is going to be about. And that is really critical in keeping your viewer. I'm going to ask you guys, I know it's happened to me. I use YouTube enough now that I can usually suss it out, and I won't even click on it anymore if I think that it's not going to deliver on what they're putting in the thumbnail. But if you ever clicked on a video and you think it's going to be about one thing, they start talking, you realize it's about something else, or that it was clickbait, and then you just bounce out of the video. So you want to make sure that if you're going to talk about 3 mistakes sellers make, you instantly go into here's 3 mistakes sellers make, and then you actually talk about mistakes sellers make. Okay. So make sure that it truly reflects what you're going to cover in that video.
And the
Did
other
you
thing
say
about
at
the
the end?
faces is to make sure that you're using the appropriate emotion for how you want the viewer to feel. So, you don't want to be up there smiling and then deliver terrible news.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You have a big smiling face. Foreclosures are up by 7%. Don't. Now, if it was something that was investors, great news, that's one thing. But if you're just talking about the market stat in general and it's a negative stat, then you don't want to be like, all smiling. Did someone have a question?
I did, but I don't remember what it is. It was you were saying something, and I missed the very end of what you said.
On the accuracy part,
Yes.
that you just want to make sure that the video, that the thumbnail actually reflects what you're going to talk about. It's really important in terms of, so like we've talked about, you're, especially in these early stages, you are literally feeding a robot. We always think about, as agents, correct me if I'm wrong, we always think about, what are people going to think? Is this what people want to hear? Or are they going to like my video? Oh my goodness, I was facing, that's the wrong side of my face. You know, we're thinking all these things. Really, we're feeding ones and zeros to a robot. And the more closely that the ones and zeros in the thumbnail reflect what we talk about, the robot will like us, will then put us in front of other people, because they'll know that we are safe to put in front of their valued clients, right? So what they want is, they want their people on their search to stay there longer. That's the only goal of all of them. So they want, when someone clicks on a video to watch it, they want the person to stay to the end. That will give you that algorithm boost of like, okay, Mary's safe. People like what she puts out and it corresponds to her titles, and then you will get natural placement.
It also helps build trust with your potential audience.
Audience, yeah, that's right. More people will subscribe. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit. So we want to use circles and you want to use arrows. The other one that I would add here would possibly be the check marks and the X's. Those are also very common, popular right now. For a while, Aaron and Ruby, I'll ask you guys. For a while, the red circle with the line through it was a popular thing, but I feel like that has fallen off to a degree right now. I don't think that's as engaging as it was. Uh-oh, did I freeze or did they freeze?
No, coach, I was waiting for Aaron to say something, but I guess it is, coach. I think most of people right now is going for like the arrow circles and mostly the X, something like that.
Right. So I think this is a good time too. I'm just going to share, and we are going to go ahead and look at that feed real quick, just so we can see what we have been talking about. So I'm going to share. Second. So this is one. Now I can, oh look, they're using the circle with the line through it. So just going over things we discussed last week and now. This one at the top, I wouldn't click on that. First off, it's sponsored, and I really rarely click on a sponsored ad. But do you see how it's like black and white? That's like it's unappealing. This guy down here, he's got curiosity in his face. He's got the arrow. Do you see the contrasting colors? The for sale sign's clearly recognizable. And it says avoid these 10 overpriced housing markets. And so remember we talked about use numbers, and with 10 being the exception, an odd number other than 10. And he followed all of that. So if we look at it, he posted that 20 hours ago and he already has 38,000 views. So do you see what I mean? There's already, just from looking at, and I purposefully, I should have shared before I showed you. I went to my news feed and then I just put in real estate. That's one of the first things that popped up. So this was not preloaded or anything like that. Here we go. We have an arrow. We've got 2 human faces, each making a different expression. Notice how the older man on the right, it appears as if he is speaking. So that is also something, don't be afraid for your face to look as if something is happening. It gives the idea of motion. So what you don't want is the realtor headshot from 1989 where you're like, on the phone, static. You don't want that. Something like this is better. And yes, the overly dramatic face is particularly effective. Now, so, you know, it just is, not just in real estate. In videos in general, if you're making a goofy face like both of those men, the one on the left and the one on the top, like, you're going to have more engagement. So now just scrolling here, am I going to click on that next thing? No, zero appeal, zero. This one, oh, and by the way, so look at that one. They posted it a day ago and they have 17,000 views. So, and it just has everything that we had been discussing. So Citigroup layoffs, you know, this one, similar. An arrow, a dramatic word of fired with red and orange and yellow, which would be colors of fire, you know, Citibank, and then a grim face. So again, it just is funny to me that without preloading any of every single one of these has the elements we were just discussing. Now, it is funny to me that there we go. We've got the red X, a big face, and it sucks now. You know, avoid moving to Florida at all costs. Now, this particular guy, who does have a really good following, he goes like very dramatic, very dramatic. So the thing that's interesting is this is from 2 months ago. It has 321,000 views. And this is a video that even though it's 2 months old, it is still getting views, and the algorithm still placed it that high up on my news feed with just putting real estate in the search. Can you all see that on my search bar where I just put real estate? So that shows you that the algorithm likes that. People click on that and they watch the whole thing. But just to show again, bright colors. Now, remember we were talking about recognizable things. Clearly that's Florida behind him. We all know that, like we didn't land from Mars, right? So again, I didn't mention that part, but the items in there in these thumbnails are recognizable. Mary?
So I thought he only had 4,000 views. What's that bigger 4K underneath the 38 seconds, which is where I know it says the word real
That
estate?
is the quality of the video. So he filmed it in 4K. Okay. So it's yeah, the views are always right here. Now, one other interesting thing about Michael's is he has the parenthetical 14 new reasons. So he's kind of breaking the use odd numbers except for 10 or 100 or, you know, top 40. It's a random even number, but it's intriguing. He's definitely using everything that we have discussed. This next one, again, it's got the arrow, it's got the numbers, and then the very dramatic yellow and black 50% crash. Right. So do you guys, I think that's an interesting for you to see that. A quick note on shorts. Faces trump everything. So you cut with your short, make it your face. Again, let's just look. Face, 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 face. Okay. And with shorts, you'll notice some of these, the first ones are all in the thousands of views. But did you all catch that this one is no views? So YouTube is constantly using shorts to create engagement. And it's one of the reasons why you want to do shorts, is that this guy, I don't know who he is. I've never seen him. But I put real estate and his short with no views, the algorithm put it up here to see if I would take that bait. Right. So it's, but they all have faces. Now, by the way, notice they have faces, and even on the shorts, big outsourcing company, bright green, you know, there's contrast here in the blue. Those numbers are in yellow. So even on shorts, you will see that some of the things that we talk about in a thumbnail they are also using, but it's typically on a short, it's not going to be as dramatic or impactful as on the full video thumbnail. Okay. And then YouTube is trying to get me to look at some of the big corporate things, which I typically won't ever look at. You know, here, look at that contrast, crazy face, a very hot market. Now he doesn't have any arrows or anything, but he's got the flames and the color and the face. So let me, does anyone have any questions about that, or does anyone want to look at any of these in further depth? Do you want me to do a different type of here, I'll just let you guys, we'll just do a random scroll. So random scroll, we've got faces locked in a box with an arrow. We've got two giant faces with Tucker Carlson and Putin. We've got three faces here, faces here. Notice this one doesn't, and it's got the those images, but it's not really a face. And even just looking at that, it doesn't have the contrasting colors. It is a little bit more dull. That would not stick out to me if I came on here and I was just doing my scroll to see what I was going to watch. These are nearly all faces or bodies. These are, so it just gives you an idea. It doesn't matter if it's real estate. It doesn't matter if it's true crime. Again, this is going to be like all faces and all arrows and all contrasts. So if anyone has any further circles, then we've got an arrow and a circle, right? So that's, it's very compelling. By the way, thumbnail, consumers' interaction with thumbnails, they change over time. So like thumbnails that were working 3 years ago, they're not the same thumbnails that are working now. Okay, and that's what we're giving you is some of the freshest. I will say, as I mentioned, faces reign supreme. They have not fallen off in their ability to create engagement. Music tends to be a little different, as you can see. Sometimes it's a snippet of their video, or it is an album cover, but there's still a lot of faces in there. Okay. And so any questions on that? Does that all make sense? All right, go ahead, Aaron. Back to you.
I feel like you covered this already, so we can just glaze past that.
Yeah, so it's, again, you want intrigue, you want emotion, you want your faces to have some type of expression. You don't want to be unless you're doing it like really, but even that, you want a little bit more of an expression. So make everything big. So again, you want people to get the gist of what your content is going to be about within 3 seconds of seeing the thumbnail. You guys noticed when we just went through those examples, we knew right away. Very hot market. Ah, shocked. Oh my gosh, it sucks now. Oh, we knew that he was going to talk about problems in a Florida market. So like you just want people to be able to look at it, get it, and move on. I can tell you, to give you a reverse example, whatever that video was that had the medieval looking images and it was all blank, I don't know what that was about. And I even talked about it, right? So that I know who has that channel and it's a successful channel, that thumbnail for that video is not doing him any favors. It would just dissipate and blend away, and I don't know what it's about. Something with medieval times and food, but I don't know other than that. So don't overcomplicate it. Think about that, a very hot market that was very simple, yet it was very powerful, right? So just keep it simple, but have large font size matters, and the size matters and the type matters. Out of that random assortment of thumbnails, none of us had to say, what does that say? Is that Wingding font or is that English? I can't tell. Like, it was very clear. It was very simple. So Aaron gave some great examples here. Don't do this. Don't do script. Don't do cutesy. You know, you want it to be those lower two. You want it big and clear, bold, and very easy to read.
And not too
Yeah.
many words.
And not too many words, correct. Because we're looking at this on my laptop screen, but where do you think most users are scrolling on their feed? Everybody's best friend. So if I'm scrolling on YouTube on my phone and it's some little script and it's black on purple and it's 15 words, I will scroll right past that thing. It is not going to be. But if I'm on my phone and a bright orange screen comes up and it goes, oh, a very hot market. Oh, click. I want to see that, right? So just keep that in mind. One of the things that I tell people, because I've had some clients come back to me and say, what do you think about this font? And I always say, don't even show me, because if you have to ask me the question, it's a no. Okay, like if you remotely think like, should I do that? No, don't. Okay, like, so just very simple. All right, what's next? So we started talking about this a little bit. We also talked about it last week. It is so critical. We'll probably talk about it every week. You have to get straight to the point. And by the way, this is something that has changed. A few years ago, having a little intro screen or a little song that was yours was okay. And some people would even do a little, guess what's happening in the Cape Cod market? I'm about to tell you. And then they would do a little and a logo. That stuff is not working now. Unless you have an incredibly established channel that is usually about media, or is more of a show format, you do not need anything like that. Is A. B, it's not about you. So you do not need to introduce yourself right when you start talking. Your name is already on the description, and your information to be compliant, especially those of you in California, all in the description. Your license number's in there. So you don't need to get on, you know, you never want to start off with, hello, I'm Betty Lou Bick with Coldwell Banker. And I've had the pleasure and the privilege and frankly, the excitement of serving the real estate community in Elephant's Breath, Wyoming for the last 32 years. Yeah, like, no one cares. No one cares. The people you want to attract, which are people that are able to buy and sell real estate and that are considering, do I want a second home in Cape Cod? Do I want to spend the winters in Phoenix and the summers in Massachusetts? Do I want to, what would it be like to actually retire in San Diego? What about the Bay Area versus San Diego? Like, these people that you want to attract, they want you to get straight to the point. So the Michael Bordenaro, when he starts his videos, he goes straight in. So the one that we saw where it said 14 new reasons. I haven't watched that, but I would bet money that he jumps in and says, all right, I've got 14 new reasons for you guys. This is why you want to fill in the blank, sell, buy, whatever he's going to talk about in Florida. So just get straight to whatever you're going to cover. Okay. So I just want to stress that. Is there anyone here that feels like you need to have a formal, I need my theme song and I need an intro. You can have, so some of you have cool logos. I was internet stalking several of you and looking at your internet online presence. So Linda, you could certainly have your editor. You could start talking about 5 best reasons to move to San Diego right now. Number 5, you know, like you can start, your logo can swirl onto the bottom of the screen and then kind of stay there. A little subscribe thing can float on the other part. You can have cards, just don't speak it. They don't want to hear it. Okay. So, does anyone, sometimes I feel like people have questions around this. Does anyone have a question around that?
I think what Fia did for me this week on our video, she put my face on the right, picture of me on the right top corner and stayed through. Is that correct, Fia? That's what you did?
Yeah, so for the video that I just edited, we recorded, because it's like a presentation, so I had the slides playing like in the background, and then I put Linda's face kind of in the top corner, so just so we could have movement for the whole video, so it wasn't just
Perfect.
like talking in slides.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds good. But again, and I'll watch the video. But you didn't necessarily, like Linda, you didn't start off with some long monologue about you and who you are and where you're from and sugar and how much you enjoy the feel of sand under your feet. Like you didn't do a big long monologue, did you?
No, but this is actually like lecture. We model after Sue Adler. The
Oh,
home
perfect.
selling.
Good. So it's part of your webinar summary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's nice. So that's having your face up there, having the information. That sounds great.
Yeah, and then before, when I was first editing for Linda, like at the end, Linda would never say like, share, and subscribe. I would just have like one slide that I made on Canva that was kind of like a GIF that would just pop up like, share, subscribe,
Right.
and then it would just play for the last 2 seconds of the video.
Perfect. All right. So let's jump to the next one. And you know what, Fia, if you don't mind, get the link to that video and pop it in the chat so people can look at it.
Sure. This one, since it's a webinar, I don't, we weren't sure if we're going to post it on YouTube or anything, so I don't have that slide, but I'll pop
Oh,
it,
gotcha.
pop
Okay.
it in. Yeah.
So 3 wells to draw from in terms of what are you talking about? So obviously you do want to do some real estate content, not as much as you may be thinking. If there were 3 of us that are into video marketing, we might have 3 slightly different answers, but I can assure you that all of us would say it's less than 40%. So when you're doing your, and that I mean the real estate specific, it could possibly be, I know some people would say around 50%. I think a really good mixture is about 40% about town, living in the area, lifestyle, big picture topics, which kind of touch about real estate, like what it's like to be a homeowner there, which is kind of about real estate, but also just kind of more about what it's like it's more lifestyle. And then maybe 30 to 40% that's more real estate specific. And then around 20%, it's something that you're passionate about. Something that's very important to you that's going to allow your personality to shine through. Okay, so that's kind of a good mixture to have. My biggest point here is do not make it all real estate. You will come across as real estate Robotron. I am a robot. All I talk about is real estate, and it is not going to bring you subscribers, and it will bring some repeat views. Like if you shared a shocking statistic or something like that, but it's not going to create a lot of repeat views. And it's also, I don't think it will create a lot of subscribers because that's not, if you're all real estate all the time, your personality is not going to come through. and your passion about living and selling in your area is not going to come through. You will just be like there will be a sterility to it that is not going to work. Okay.
So Bridget, for us, if we do something, like if I want to do something just, very quickly, shoot a quick video and then post, what would be the best to use? Which app would be the best to use?
Oh, I mean, if you're just trying to do something quick, and Aaron, like you're in Ruby, feel free to chime in. I would just use the editing tools that are right within YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and anyone who has I mean, the cameras on the Samsungs, especially the 21 and newer, blow my mind. And I've got like DSLRs and have some previous history in photography. So as long as you have a fairly recent iPhone,
iPhone 15?
or preferably a Samsung, again, like sort of like 20, 21 or newer, just use your phone. Use your phone and use the editing right within the app.
There are some other free apps, but it's just like picking a phone. I can't tell you which ones are the best because what I might like, you might not. Like I am not an iPhone person. I don't know anything about iPhones. So, it's very personal to find different things, but I just recommend using the studio right in YouTube for anything short. Long-term or long-form content that you want to edit down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right.
Additionally,
But if you want something quick and fresh.
Yeah, because I just want to add that the more you use the features in editing directly in YouTube, in Instagram, and whatever platforms that has the editing itself that you can do, just do it because they're the most like pushing your content, your videos out in your audience because you are using the most out of their platform.
That's right. Yes. Every platform responds your engagement and usage of what they're offering to you. So you're exactly right, Ruby. And the other thing is too, like in the last 2 years, they've just gotten so easy. And it used to be they were a little bit clunky or cumbersome, or like, how do I do that? Why won't it clip? And it's really gotten pretty easy. I would do that.
Great.
So just getting into some more ideas. Houses under a certain amount. So, 3 houses in St. Augustine under 350, or, 3 pool homes. So like giving a price point, using an odd number. Another thing that is cool is versus in that house and pricing. So like $1 million in Cape Cod versus $1 million in, I can't think of a nearby town, Saugus. It's not nearby, but it would be a lot different, right? San Diego, Linda could do, what does $1 million get you in La Jolla, Del Mar, or Coronado, right? So like that, see how that's intrigued? Like already just making that up, I'm like, oh, what would it be? So think about pricing, think about above, below, pool, golf course, whatever, but that's going to create intrigue. And when you add in little things like the water orientation or pools or golf courses, or you could keep horses here, then you're also going to appeal to some niche markets, and those niche searchers will find you. And as long as you come across as a regular person with some personality and not a robot, then they're going to potentially just follow you, and you've got new and expanded audience. Pros and cons of living in Jacksonville, but I wish I knew. Those are big right now. That's a big top thing. And Ruby and Aaron, I'd love your feedback. I have noticed in my scanning, there's a lot of what I wish I knew before I fill in the blank. Got my master's degree, moved to California, got into real estate, left my team, joined a team, like, well, so there's that dynamic is having a moment. So you could do pros and cons, and then of course you can also do 2 different videos, and it can be the 5 best things about living in Portland, you know, and then maybe a parenthetical and two pros, you know, so you can play around with that, but people like that. They like Ben Franklin's, they like pros and cons, they like best and worst. Cost of living, the real cost of living in Orlando. The real cost of owning a home in La Jolla. The unexpected cost of living in Massachusetts, you know, so it could be, and notice in those examples, we gave like cities, towns, state, you know, so play around with that dynamic as well. The counties, you know, so you want to play around with that. Then you want a variety. The best neighborhoods in. So that's another really, you know, best neighborhoods. Another one to add into the best neighborhood kind of category is only locals know. You know, the 5 neighborhoods only locals know about, you know, that sort of dynamic where they feel as if they're getting information that has some exclusivity, even though it's on one of the biggest video platforms and search platforms in the world. You still get that feeling like, ooh, I'm getting the insider information. And then of course, tops in your city. I feel like that's really underutilized. I feel like that could be part of a broader campaign, even outside of your video marketing. I think it's a great way to interact with your database. If you all sent out like to your entire database, and I mean entire, I'm including leads, old dead leads from open houses 4 years ago. I don't care if you've got an email for it, send it. Sending out a survey that just says, as a professional in the Bay Area for 30 years, I am putting out my best of list. And if you would like to see, you know, nominate your favorites in these categories, just like the magazines do. Have everything from dog groomers, nail salons, steak houses, vegetarian restaurants, whatever. Put all the stuff in there. Marinas, and send that out to your survey. Make them optional, you know, and put in the notes. You don't need to fill in all of them. Just put your favorites in the categories that are important to you. And then just start featuring the best, you know, top in your city. And instead of being according to Washingtonian or according to the LA Times, it's according to me, because I am your, you know, expert in the community. Of course, you're not going to say it that way, but you get where I'm going with that. It highlights you as an expert in your market. Okay. Go. So, and just kind of, I mentioned some of these on the previous one. So locals only, moving to, things you need to know before you move to, 3 reasons not to move to, that ties in. And by the way, there are some clever ones. How many of you ever seen like 5 reasons to not move to San Diego? And it's tongue in cheek. And then it's actually like, you know, they're sort of sarcastic and it's actually why you would want to move there. Yeah, so feel free to play with that. Just make sure you're still satisfying what the thumbnail and the title is. The versus concept, and then like what I hate about again, that the extremes and the emotions tend to attract engagement with the reality, and then what it's like to live there.
And the thing about the why I hate or the negativity hooks, as we discussed early on in this session, was the people who like fiercely love a city. Like I love St. Augustine. I'm gonna click on that to see what you're gonna say about the place I love.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
what
I don't believe it. I've got to see this. So
yeah.
it's going to attack both
like
kinds
Paradise
of personalities.
Valley? What? You know, like, and then I want to watch it because I want to see what's this. You know, what are they saying? I'm going to prove them wrong. You know, so it gets engagement either way. So get creative. You know, we sort of have been talking about that. So you want it to be fun. You want it to be engaging. You want it, for the most part, to have a pretty fast pace. You also want to have links in your description. You know, if you're interested in more of the volunteering opportunities that are available in San Diego, especially the ones involving animals, click on the link in my description, blah, blah, blah. and then move on. So like, it's not, you don't want to go on the full 3 hours later, you're still talking about the animal volunteering opportunity. You don't want to do that, right? So an example of that we looked at last week, there was really something about that speedy part of Amber's video that made me want to see more. Because you got a little glimpse of the theater room, a glimpse of that bedroom, a glimpse of this. It was like, I want to see that. And I rewatched it again, just as a consumer before I realized, oh, it made me do what they.
It's a great way to get people to watch multiple times and get your unique viewer count up.
Yeah. So this I thought was a really good idea. We talked about having 3 properties. So you could turn it into a little game. So you could have 3 properties and the people have to guess which one is which price. So maybe you have 3 prices and 3 properties, and then you show them and like, all right, which price do you think goes with the single family by the golf course? And so when you add in that bit of intrigue, then you will have people that will stay all the way till the end. Because they want to know.
And it also increases your comments, because again, it's so hard, or it's so easy to forget that YouTube is first and foremost a social media platform. So the more people that are commenting on your content tells the algorithm this is good content, I'm going to push it out to more people. So that's a great way to get people involved in your comments.
Absolutely. It's one of the things, so some of you and I think Linda, I think you have some similar architects to what we had in Orange County and LA. But if there's a house that's an Eichler and a house that's a Frank Lloyd Wright inspired design and a house that's a we want a third one. I can't think of a third one to put in there. But then you could even have like guess the style. Now, like guess which one is the Eichler, which one is the Wright, which one is a fill in the blank with a third architect that I can't think of on the spur of the moment. That will get people to watch all the way to the end. Because you're not going to tell them till the end. Okay. Any questions around that?
I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm wondering, I've got kind of mixed messages about this, because I think there's some rule that you shouldn't be showing other agents properties that they are listing there, but still people do it all the time. Redfin, Zillow, they do it all the time, but still there's some kind of rule that says that you can. I was just thinking, if you on your YouTube channel start to talk about the open houses that's coming up, and you're like actually presenting other listing agents properties on your YouTube channels with photographs and actually selling them to try to get buyers, is that something that is looked upon as taboo, or is it just you can do it?
Well, if I can share, Fia actually go film what we have, what's called broker open house, and we normally do 5 million plus, homes are 5 million plus, and we just say we tour. So, and we tour, if you're interested in private tour, contact us. And when she filmed, she asked the listing agent, can we film? Can we do a video? And he said, yes, we do it. And that's it. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't think anything
And if
wrong
they
with
say
that.
no, you don't.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things to do around that. And I think you guys are in some pretty successful market centers. Stick with the inventory in your market center. The listings belong to the broker of record, and it's the entire office's job to get the listing inventory sold. Now, could you still send a quick text like, hey, by the way, I'd like to feature your listing on Primrose in my video next week. Would that be okay? Yeah, like, so act like a diplomatic, sensible agent.
Yeah, ask for
ask.
permission.
So if it's outside of the brokerage and it's in the MLS where you have cooperative marketing of the listings, you've got more freedom. I mean, the reality is we can take pictures of houses from the road. So, and by the way, I'm not an attorney. I'm not in law enforcement. I am not anything. Pretend I came down from Mars yesterday. So all disclaimers apply, and yet you could do a snippet from the road and say, I'm really looking forward to previewing this home for some of my clients. I'll let you know what it's like when I come back out. So if it's over the shoulder, a couple of rules around that. I think it makes sense to blur or eliminate any house numbers or streets. If there's cars, you blur out the license plate. So you want to use like be sensible. Usually, I know as soon as I say this, the first person you talk to is going to be like, no. People that have like Eichler listings and sellers of Eichler homes, they're so proud of it. They want everyone to know. So if you call that listing agent or text them and say, I'm doing a YouTube video about famous architects in Southern California. I'd like to feature your Eichler listing. Would that be all right with you? They're usually going to say yes, because I don't know if any of you know any Eichler owners, but they're pretty fanatical. And they want that.
You always have to ask?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I will say the one time when I think you have to ask, as Linda mentioned, if you're doing anything in the interior or in the backyard, if you're doing anything that would be in an area that is private, I dang well would get permission. The last thing you need is for your video to be inside someone's house and it's showing like priceless Chagall's, and you don't want to do that. Believe me, you don't want that call.
Another thing too is that usually if I'm going to the broker caravans and I'm asking around, if it's like obviously still occupied by the sellers, I usually won't film it. Just to like, because one, the agents will usually say no, and then two, just
Right.
For their privacy, if there's photos up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also sometimes it looks a little bit better staged, to be completely honest. So that's just some tips.
Yeah, that's a good filter. Yeah, like if it's still occupied.
But how can Redfin and Zillow post all the images from the interiors all the time, like 56? They take it from the MLS, all the pictures that are inside the house. There are private stuff in there, and then it's everywhere.
They have the listing sharing agreement, so that's different. They
Right.
are just like Redfin, Zillow, they are business, and then they have the relationship with MLS. It's a different relationship. And people want their listing to be uploaded to those platforms.
The Redfin and Zillow and those have a certain agreement with MLS, so they can do it, but individual agents don't.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's reality and there's technicality. I'm giving you reality. I'm telling you right now, if you just went into Betty Lou Bick with Coldwell Banker's $5 million listing and shared a video of the inside with your commentary over it, that would probably be hell on earth. And if you grabbed the cooperative broker agreement and said, but Betty Lou, I'm able to email your listing through the MLS under my name to my clients, so I can do this too. I'll help you pick out your suit and tie for the courtroom. That is not going to be pretty. Okay, so I'm just giving you.
It's not worth the argument in the first place, and it's. I mean, you're ruining relationships at that point. So in a business where you're building relationships, you wouldn't want to cross that bridge.
Yeah. Now the other thing too. Here's an even bigger point. House tours typically are the least viewed things, so we're really spending a significant amount of time on something that gets the least amount of viewership. Hands down.
Unless you're going to do something fun and funky by making like a little game show, like channeling your inner Price is Right, then home tours are really not doing well.
Most of those you can do from the exterior and even from the street. So as long as you blur out the identifiers, then that's where it gets fun. Okay, is this the Eichler or the Frank Lloyd Wright? Is this the whatever? Yeah, but that is all like behind your shoulder from the street. And again, are you going to be able to do that without permission in a gated community? No. Then you have a blooper reel to share of when security pulled up in the golf cart and told you that you had to stop. So use some common sense around this. You know, and think to yourself, a couple filter questions. Would I be mad if someone did this to me or one of my clients?
Let's try.
And what is the good karma? Like Fia and Linda going around and saying like, we love the listing. We'd love to be able to share that in the video. Would that be okay with you? Yes, that's compliments and creative people love it. So just think about it. You don't want to be the a-hole stepping on toes. You don't want to be the bull in the china shop. Okay. So don't be a bull in a china shop. You want to be diplomatic, gracious, and smooth as honey. Okay. And if you want to talk more about that, you know, we can talk about that too offline. So a couple of goals with your videos. You want to become known on the platform. So especially by the robot and by the algorithm. So it's not necessarily that I could go down. I'm at the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles, and I'm going to ask random strangers, who's your favorite YouTuber? Oh, it's Linda Lee from San Diego. Okay, hate to break it to you, that's probably not going to happen. But you want to be a known entity to the robot, to the algorithm, that when people watch your videos, they typically watch the whole thing. They watch more than one. They watch 5 in a row. So you want your content to satisfy the robots, and you want to be known as a trusted contributor, a trusted creator. You want to be consistent in the posting, and you want to interact with other creators. You also want to interact with your comments. You want to engage. YouTube is not a platform to post and ghost. I will tell you all, because I get fairly burned out on nearly all other social media platforms. So on Facebook, I do a lot of posting and ghosting. You guys know what that is? Yep. I'm like, here's a picture of me. I'm having a great time in Arizona. And then a few days later, I'll go in and I'll interact with whatever people put. But I'm not doing a lot of scrolling. But you don't want to do that on YouTube. And we'll talk more about that later. So you want to be liked on the platform. So you want, as I said, it is a social platform first. So how many of you comment on videos on YouTube as a consumer? So again, so you do, Johan. Yeah, Aaron does. I do a lot because I think I've shared with you all that I'm a heavy YouTube user. And I got to tell you, you'll always get way less notifications on YouTube than you ever do on any of the other platforms. But when I open my YouTube and it has the little, I have 3 notifications. I'm like, oh my God, someone commented on my comment. Like I'm all excited and I look and then I engage and then we talk and then they're, tagging me. So you've got to remember it is a social platform first. And people do want to connect. I can share with you, and I'm happy to have a few of them as a guest on one of our calls. One of the things that happens with the leads that you get from YouTube is they call you as if they know you. So buyer clients that Dan Palomino in Big Island, Hawaii, he's working with, literally strangers reached out to him and talked to him as if they'd known each other for years. Hey, Dan.
That's why it's important to be authentic in your content as well, because if they call you and you are not the same person you are online, there's no trust.
Yeah. And Dan is himself in his videos all the way through. So, but yeah, they called him up and they just spoke to him as if they had known each other for years. So, and that's one of the reasons why we believe the conversion rate is so high with the leads that you do get from YouTube in particular. So you want to be social. You want to make sure that you have a pinned comment on every single one of your videos. And that's one of the tasks that I wanted to ask everyone to do this week is go to your own channel, go to your videos, and make sure that you yourself, as the creator, you have put a comment on every video. And in that comment, ask a question or share another video link. So you don't just want to be like, don't pin on your own video and say like, wow, that's a great video. You want to go on there and say, hey, I hope you all enjoyed this information. I'm curious, what's your favorite coffee shop in your town? Or, hey, how many of you got all three prices right on the houses? So you want it to be like a comment that has something that over time, people will start to answer. I will tell you right now in the beginning, and it's probably around your first 80 videos where you're actually being strategic, it's going to be a lot of Cricket Town. What's going to happen in the future as people discover you and then they start binge watching, they're going to start watching your older videos and they're going to answer that comment that you made 3 years ago with a little, so do you like peaches or do you like nectarines? They're going to start answering and you'll go to your notifications and be like, why the heck did 3 people put peaches? Because you won't even remember the question that you put 3 years ago. So it is social and you want to interact and you need those comments on there and you want to answer. You want to make a comment and like every comment that anyone makes. Every little thing, like the algorithm watches every single little bit of that. And yes, your assistants, your mother, your siblings can all make comments. And it's particularly exciting if they live all across the country or out of the country, and you can respond. Okay. And then of course you want to be trustworthy, as we've discussed. You want to, you just want to be direct, be yourself, and you want your video to reflect what you said it was going to be. All right. What's next? So this is a pretty important, and we are a few minutes over, but I'm going to say this and we're going to end it quickly. So it's very good timing. So we're ending quickly. At the end of your video, because they truly, the analytics look at what percentage of the video did viewers stay all the way through. And so if you get to the end of your video and you're like, and the #1 reason to live in San Diego is Point Loma Seafood. It's the best fried scallop sandwich you'll ever have in your life. Now, I'm Linda Lee, and I'm with Keller Williams, Cromwell Valley, and I'm blah, 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 and this and that. And the biggest blessing in my life is the referrals and taking care of your friends and family. Everyone will have bounced out. Your own mother will have been like, oh, they're out. Click, right? Don't do it. So what you do is you end it very, very quickly. So I will tell you a couple of creators that I watch outside of real estate. I noticed for a while, one young lady in particular started ending almost at like where half of a word was missing. It was like, okay, and the other one will be up tomorrow. And guess what? It made me like rewind and go like, wait a minute, what? And then you think, oh, well, I guess it was an editing thing. And you go on. Well, guess what? She just got rewatches and all the way through. Now, I'm not saying to do that, but here's how you want to end. The #1 reason to move to San Diego is the kissing sailor statue down at the water's edge. Bye-bye. Out. Just go. Go.
Also, you can start to create a watch trap. So when you're coming to the end of your video, start hyping up another video that's similar to that video and link it on your end screen. So when you're ending quickly, be like, if you want to know more about that, check out this video right here. Boom.
Yep.
And end.
And end. You don't need to say like, thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, and all that stuff's got to be further up. And you want to don't say it that way because they'll think you're ending. You do not, also when you're about to give, if you're doing a countdown and you're about to give your last tidbit, don't say. And finally, let me share with you the tax implications. They'll hear, oh, taxes, boom, they leave. So you don't give it away. Don't give away the ending is coming. And then it is bye-bye, out. Okay. So we can talk about that more next week. So let's end it quickly. So what are 3 ahas that you guys are going to take away from our time together today?
I like the video, like like showing just kind of catchy, but not like, hi. I mean, get to the point as quickly as possible. I think that get end quickly. I thought that was a big tip because I have been watching video. When they end quickly, I did exactly like, did they just end that? And I
Yeah,
go
yeah.
watch it. So that catch my
Right.
attention. So I thought, I mean, the catchy word, and I'm like, I just need to be brave enough, just talk about the video I do. I'm like sitting down, very businesslike. I could be just walking around like, why should you attend UCSD? Why buy instead of your kid living door?
Right.
I mean, things like that, but more fun, catching to the point post. Like show,
Yeah.
and when I do travel, start traveling again, hey, this is where I am, da da da. I always like to stop,
Right.
this is Hermes and LAX, something like that, so I think that I just be very friendly, and I need to learn very quick edit my video, like add little expression, and I love the tip that Aaron shared about and also Ruby using the YouTube, using the Instagram, and then just more I do it, more I learn it, and hey, we all start from beginner anyway.
That's
The more
right.
you do it, the faster you become at doing
That's
it, the more proficient you become with the systems. And it's the easiest way to avoid a copyright strike against you because you're using their music, their graphics, everything from their studio.
Cool. Thank you.
Let's get 2 more. I see Mary, you put in here that you think of the insurance commercial every time you think of doing a video. Very good. All right, let's get 2 more quick takeaways. Linda?
So mine was the thumbnail, even the difference between a waist up to like a head shoulder shot, because we typically have done the waist up. So that was interesting, just getting to know the tips of the thumbnail.
And close up of faces. I mean, that's the thing. And humans are fascinated by humans. So don't sit there thinking like, oh, I'm not Brooke Shields. I can't put my close up to my face. Like, no, just put it out. It just faces, grab the attention.
Yep.
Mary?
I have a question. You said not to use a lot of words, and I think you meant caption wise, but I thought that we learned that last week to make sure that we use something that is putting the words across, because not everybody watches the video with the sound on. So are you talking
Oh,
2 different
we're
things
just
there?
talking only on
Talking
your thumbnail.
Only
Yeah.
on the
Only
Okay.
on the thumbnail. You want to limit,
you
3 to
want
5
words
max.
everywhere else.
And if you noticed when we were looking online, a lot of them have 0 words on them. It's all being told by graphics. So
Right.
that's just only referring to the thumbnail, because almost 90% of people are going to be consuming your content from a mobile device. They're not going to be able to see those words in the
Right.
first place. And if you're going to use a couple of words, make sure that they're intriguing and very large.
And when you're videoing, you're going to have your phone up straight like this, as opposed to like this, correct? For YouTube?
If you're going to be shooting shorts, it's always going to be the way you had it first.
Portrait.
Okay.
So shorts are portrait, but for long form video, it's horizontal.
All right. And long form video goes into YouTube, but
Yes.
it's used in Facebook, but it's not used in Instagram, because Instagram is up and down. It's
No.
portrait.
No.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure I'm putting this all together.
So the big things I want you guys to do this week are any videos that you have out there. Go back and add a comment, pin your comment, and put some kind of question in there. And then ask your family and friends or your assistant to go on there and answer it. You want to start stimulating that algorithm. If anyone did put a comment on your any existing video, as long as it's not a bot or something weird, then just give it a like, and then also give a, at least say thank you. Or if even better would be to ask them a question. And so if you could do that this week, and then also look at your thumbnails. Now, I believe Aaron and Ruby, you guys like to make thumbnails in Canva, but the reality is there's even a decent thumbnail generator, so just look at your thumbnails. Could you change them? what would be a really fun experiment would be to go to old videos, maybe that didn't have a lot of views, change the thumbnail up to what we described, and then re-promote it, cross-promote it against other social media platforms, and or email it out to your database and then see if you get some more engagement. Okay.
You can always go back into your studio, change your thumbnail, change your title, change your description. It's not
Yeah.
like once you hit, publish, that you can't ever go back in and change anything. So if you have some content that you think was really good content and it wasn't getting the views that you wanted it to get, underperforming, go back in and try. Try to adjust the thumbnails, adjust your colors, adjust your titles.
I even wonder,
And intrigue.
yeah, I wonder on Michael Bordonaro's video here where it's got the parenthetical 14 new reasons. Remember how I was noticing how that's a 2-month-old video, but it has so many views and it's still stimulating the algorithm because it showed up that quickly. I wonder if he went in and added 14 new reasons to the title to shake things up. Because that's yeah. So anyway, so I would say play around with it. You have nothing to lose. If any of you are like, oh, I don't want to disrupt I put so much time into that video that has 7 views. No, change the title, change the description, and do a thumbnail like we talked about, and then see what happens. Okay, so that's your quest for this week. Johan, make yourself record more things. And if you're still feeling uncomfortable, it's okay because you're going to get more comfortable just the more you do it. So make yourself record at least 1 video a day of yourself, even if you're really crazy, just so you can start getting over to like, okay, and you can start getting into a groove. Okay. All right, guys, get out there and I will see you next week. And if you have any questions or need anything in between, send me an email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.